Turns out everyone on X was Indian the whole time. A lot of us guessed this, given our timelines have looked like the southernmost mouth of the Ganges for going on 2 years now, ever since X rolled out monetization for creators, people from the third world, where there are no prohibitions against lying, and where they think that cheating and stealing to get ahead is encouraged because you're a sucker if you don't do it for yourself, and where Western money goes an awful lot further, have been making a living posting rage bait, AI slop with the sirens in order to farm engagement to take a disproportionate share of the creator payout pot and redistribute it back to the Indian subcontinent. Until this latest update by X's head of product, Nikita Bier, where the country of an account is displayed in its profile, we had to engage in an elaborate game of ethno-guesser as to which of our favourite Western Defender anonymous accounts were run by Indians. Fortunately, for quite a while, the delusional levels of ethnic self-confidence on display in the Indian subcontinent made it quite easy for us. Take, for example, this list of the 100 greatest warriors and warrior kings of all time, featuring 17 Indians that you've never heard of. And so a meme meta was born responding to these accounts, where people were pointing out how obvious it was that these people are Indian. Everyone knows what they are because they make it very obvious, as the frequent Mulan meme says, now all of Twitter knows you're Indian. The juggernaut calls for you, Anon. Or what about this one? From Epic Maps, countries with the most handsome men 2025, number 1, India. No. Nobody believes this. Now this apparently comes from a Reddit survey, so it's rigged by 1, the number of Indians on Reddit, and 2, the number of Indians both in India and in global diasporas, but literally only Indians would believe this because, let's be honest, ever since they've been hooked up to the internet, their reputation as hardworking immigrants in a land of yogic mysticism has been dispelled, and they're now known as scammers, sex pests, and for defecating in the street, so they kind of need the confidence boost. But, like a train barreling down the tracks towards an Indian man taking a selfie, this update has wiped their grift clean out. Nikita responded to this woman who asked Elon Musk to make it mandatory to report wherever an account is based in their profile, and he said, give me 72 hours. And people were waiting for the update, and even he was posting the white rabbit, tapping the pocket watch, saying, it's coming soon. When the update finally dropped, it was a veritable apocalypse for slop farmers, as you can see with the dinosaur dropping the Coke can posted by Chief Trumpster here. He's a good Anon account that you should all be following. He compiled a list of the based accounts pretending to be one of our countrymen, but who are polluting our politics from overseas. For example, this Israeli army fan account is run out of South Asia. Colour me shocked. Or this Israeli woman based from India. The same. Israeli woman based from India. Another woman based out of Nigeria. Most likely a prince seeking a small donation. I can't believe I have so many Nigerian cousins. Ivanka Trump News based out of Nigeria. Or an Alex Soros account based out of Niger. Or a MAGA Nation account out of Eastern Europe. All of these people are contaminating our respective politics in the Anglosphere, in Europe and the West, when they have no connection to any of our culture and are just farming outrage to farm engagement to make a modest living for themselves in a third world slum. But one account, headquartered in Tel Aviv, caught people's attention, and this was the official government account for the US Department of Homeland Security. Now, I saw a lot of people posting this screenshot or video footage that apparently authenticated, if you went to the Department of Homeland Security's bio, that they were based in Israel. The Department of Homeland Security and the presumable Zoomer who's in charge of their account had to respond to Nikita saying, I can't believe we have to say this, but this account has only ever been run and operated from the United States. Screenshots are easy to forge, videos are easy to manipulate. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So, the DHS apparently are not based out of Israel. Well, perhaps spiritually. Don't worry though, the Palestinian side has as many Indians farming engagement and outrage. For them, turns out that this Palestinian journalist, Mohammed Smiri, who was born in Palestine, raised and based in Gaza, and tweets about his life under occupation, is apparently situated in Palestine and has almost 1 million followers, is based in Indonesia. Think that's pretty far from the Israeli border. This Gazan-based journalist, who is even wearing a flak jacket and a press helmet, yeah, it turns out that he's from Poland and connected via the UK App Store. Curious. If only someone had warned you about this back in October. Truly, you hear it first on this channel. This is why you should be subscribed and have my notification bell on. Even other Indians are Indians. It turns out that all of the Native American grievance accounts that you see on Twitter agitating for the United States to remove colonizers from its stolen land are based in Bangladesh. I wonder why Bangladeshis, Indians and Pakistanis might harbour a historical ethnic grudge against English-speaking whites. Not the only one. This was an account called Native American Soul that was posting images of American Indian women flipping the bird to Mount Rushmore, and it turns out that they were based in Bangladesh the whole time and have now deleted their account. So, the people fomenting ethnic grievances, agitating against whites in their own countries, turns out they are just foreigners living abroad, making money off of the racial strife in our lands. This is why we need a region lock. My post should not be able to be seen by anyone from the Indian subcontinent, and I should not have to see a single post by anyone from the Indian subcontinent. Here's another one. Native American culture. In the smoke of ancient pipes, our ancestors whispered to the winds, from the northern lakes where the eagle soars, to the southern rivers where the jaguar prowls. This red earth has always been our heartbeat. Such a moving sentiment from Bangladesh. If that surprised you, it turns out most of the Manosphere accounts as well are also Indian. So the following post that says most women have done sexually what 80% of men will never experience in their entire lives by age 30, and this is why they hide it. Men brag about their past, women bury theirs, and conspicuously it's always images of white women. Well, turns out that he's also based in India. It vindicates my opinion that the Manosphere has just become brown people in the first world talking to brown people in the third world, and mutually seething about their inability to make blonde white women laugh. Again, masculine beast, based in India. Masculine beast, based in India. Masculine ego, based in India. And of course, the Man Maker with Jason Statham, based in India. Because nothing says masculinity like having weaker grip strength than your average white woman. There are loads of philosophy slop accounts based in India, like Ninja Wisdom and Mind Philosophy. And also, at She Will Be Wet, based in India. The cope is unreal. You see a lot of Indians saying at the moment that Wignats, they just mean white people, are complaining about us taking their lands, taking their jobs, and taking their women. I promise you, no white guy has ever been anxious about an Indian man taking his woman. At least consensually. But what about all the women that they think they're speaking to? Well, turns out they're Indian too, or perhaps Vietnamese in this woman's case, but here's one from Pakistan, so it turns out that the Indian masculinity accounts are talking to Pakistanis posing as white women, using videos and photos of other women. Can't wait for the Romeo and Juliet remake set in Kashmir. Accounts claiming to be white women making hypersexualized posts. Turns out they're based in South Asia. I think that the porn industry has a lot to answer for in the impression that it's given the third world of white women. Because it turns out, no, they're not willing and waiting to mate with the entire Indian subcontinent. Barely anyone is. And so it shouldn't surprise us that there are a bunch of anti-white fetish accounts that are based in India, Pakistan, South Asia, and Israel. Shut it down. There are other forms of anti-white demoralization going on too. This account was posting AI slop pretending to be a white guy in California who converted his entire family to Islam. And after Total Patriot Chase Davis pointed out that the account was based in West Asia, well, he deleted the post. But here was the original post. Again, obvious AI slop of a white family supposedly celebrating Eid, woman in a hijab, based out of America. This kind of content serves two purposes. It rage bait farms, so Americans who point out that these people are not real and that the original poster is situated somewhere in Uttar Pradesh, they still get paid, whether or not it's true. And also, the people who are most likely to believe this, whose low IQ has been hit by the shock and awe tactics of rapid improvements in AI image generation, This is why lots of black Americans believe these obviously fake images that pretend to be parts of black history that they've just never been told before because the white man is trying to keep a brother down. It makes them believe that they are on the precipice of taking over white Christian countries because they harbour long-standing ethnic and religious grudges against these countries. Turns out the defenders of said white countries are also Indian. This account, pretending to be a white woman from Scandinavia, is Indian. Surf points out that this American Eagle account, based in Pakistan. Patrick Casey pointing out the account Salute the Flag, American Patriot, based in Malta. And he asks, is there a single actual American on here? So this was everyone's feed over the weekend, just scrolling through and checking all of the accounts, no matter what side of politics they're on. Israel, Palestine, MAGA Democrat, white, anti-white, and finding that we are just the battleground for the respective ethnic grievances and striver culture of the Indian subcontinent. Time to cut the internet cables, the experiment wasn't worth it. So we all feared the worst. We all thought one of our strongest soldiers would themselves be from Bangladesh or Pakistan. But don't worry, India taking L's has beaten the allegations. But why is this happening? Why does, as soon as India get internet access, the internet itself becomes a much worse place? Well, this post has been put on Kiwi Farms and has been doing the rounds on X in the last few days. And it explains the third world honor-based mindset in India. Now, we have no way of verifying whether or not this man is an Indian, whether or not this is credible, but it aligns with my worldview, so I choose to believe it. He writes, I didn't see this term mentioned in the thread, so I wanted to share this all with you. It's about Izzat. Some posts have mentioned saving face, which is Izzat, but I wanted to elaborate on it. Izzat has no direct translation into English. We only have terms that can broach the same concept such as honor or reputation or face. Izzat is so much more than that. It's a zero-sum game of collective honor shared by whole groups of people, all of whom take it very, very seriously. A system like this isn't just foreign to Enlightenment values, but I'd argue it's antithetical to every sensible form of governance on the planet. It will destroy any system that assumes good faith. Izzat conflicts are not just about who is right and wrong, it's about who wins and loses. This means it's a zero-sum game where just about any action is justified, including murder, to restore the lost Izzat. Izzat is a limited social currency, and the easiest way to get it is to take it from someone else. Think the guy with the gold shirt that Count Dankula made a video on, who then got murdered so that he wasn't mogging everyone else with expensive clothing in an Indian village. Winning is righteous in Izzat, losing is unrighteous. This means that if someone plays the game of Izzat well enough, they can get away with just about anything, including murder, scamming, cheating, stealing. The only morality in Izzat is the protection of your group's collective ego. The only appropriate response when your Izzat is attacked is the complete destruction of whoever insulted it. Let's say two people get into an argument. They might escalate, but the chances are it won't be that bad, i.e., sorry I broke your garden gnome. In England, of course. With two Indians in an argument, the stakes are always deadly thanks to Izzat. Neither one of them can back down, nor can they admit fault. Admitting fault is seen as deliberately humiliating yourself. Not only that, but because Izzat is shared, you are shaming everyone who shares your Izzat. So admitting fault or taking responsibility for a problem is a form of social suicide. This means that even if the dispute was over something completely stupid or trivial, like a broken garden gnome, it could spiral into a decades-long honor feud. I explained this in a previous video about how the third world thinks regarding the Islamic world, regarding how high levels of cousin marriage mean that you only ever interact with your clan, with your insular family, so your siblings, your parents, your cousins, who you then marry and have children with, and so you only ever extend moral consideration to yourself, the family, and clan. And so this means moral universalism, as we see in the Anglosphere, either via Christianity or long-standing social custom or blank slate liberalism, is impossible to these parts of the world. And so when you add that culture into ours, our cultural immune system is totally incapable of fighting back against how clannish, ethno-nepotistic foreign moralities exploit our high-trust society, because they will just lie, cheat, and steal to advantage their family, themselves, their clan, and their ethnic kin, or in the Islamic case, the Ummah. And the same social practices happen in India, even outside the Islamic parts of India, especially because there is an incentive to do so if you're interacting with the Islamic parts of India, with whom you share a country, and so you have to double down on your own clannishness, your own ethnic nepotism, in order to get ahead as a family, as an individual, or as an ethnic and religious group against your outgroup, be that a family, a clan, an ethnicity, or a rival religion. And so this means that nobody ever takes responsibility for their own actions. This means that people cut corners, it means they are dishonest, it means that they will just scam or copy someone else's work and take credit for it, and this is why you can bring in loads of cheap Indian coders to, hypothetically, on a spreadsheet, fill the same sort of jobs that an Englishman or an American can do, but the product never improves. It's why you can't trust credentials from the third world, especially India, because people have scammed to get to the position that they are in, and they will continue scamming when they are in the position they are in, because that has been the secret to their success. So why interrupt a thing when it's working? Izzat is also the reason why police are reluctant to get involved in honor-based disputes. Because Izzat is a zero-sum game, all participants are involved in the game. If a policeman sides with one family over another in an Izzat dispute, this means he's deliberately taking the side of that family and dishonoring the other. This marks him for retribution by the offending party. Without parties being able to be impartial, then centralized authority cannot effectively function. This explains every instance of why Muslims will cover up crimes committed by other Muslims in the UK. Don't just think the Pakistani grooming gangs. Think about the Muslim guys who attacked a female police officer in Manchester Airport, then pretended to be the victims until the CCTV came out of them attacking the female police officer first before being restrained and kicked in the face while on the floor. And then they got their lawyer and attempted independent Muslim political candidate, Ahmed Yaqub, to say, "My clients are innocent, bro," while a bunch of other Muslims protested outside the police station in Manchester and agitated for their release without charge. And it took ages for these men to be charged by the justice system, who feared the collective retribution of the ethnically and religiously clannish Muslim enclaves that the police station was surrounded by. The post continues. Let's say someone in India complains about a broken water pipe. Instead of the problem being addressed, the official responsible for the water pipe denies it's a problem and counterattacks him instead, because daring to question his efficiency in his role was challenging his Izzat. So the official destroys the person who brought the problem up. The water pipe never gets fixed. This is why importing millions of these people into our countries had led to the dilapidation of our countries. It's not just the pressure on public services, it's installing these people in a position of authority over said public services, who then take it personally if you point out that the public service over natural entropy and use has degraded over time, and so they avoid taking responsibility for the problem, even if they have inherited the problem at the end of the particular piece of infrastructure's lifestyle. And so they avoid fixing it because admitting there is a problem incurs a personal reputational cost upon them. So problems never get fixed, and corruption compounds in public office. None of these people should be here. Izzat is also the reason why Indian managers are infamous for hiring Indians. It's because from the manager's perspective, he's using his position to gain an invisible social currency. Merit and actual qualifications come second to that idea. If he hired a Westerner, he would not gain or even lose Izzat by doing so. He has a very strong cultural incentive not to be impartial. Meanwhile, if he can strong-arm dozens of Indians into a company, he is gaining huge quantities of Izzat and conspirators who owe an absolute debt to him. This is why the complaint about importing basically a migrant underclass, saying that Silicon Valley is indenturing Indian immigrants on H-1Bs as servants, is the wrong angle of attack. They know what they're doing. They're ethno-nepotistically hiring because, yes, it's their clan, yes, it's their cousins, yes, it's their countrymen, but also each of them is gaining something from this subordinate position they are placing this low-wage labour in, because they are squeezing out heritage Americans from these jobs and employing other Indians, thereby accruing social currency that they would not otherwise accrue if they were just supervising a bunch of white Americans doing a more competent job than their Indian co-ethnics. It's not uncommon to see Indians gloat about their success in the West, the Post author says. And yes, Izzat is very much a system that enables short-term success, but the fundamental reality is the prosperity that these Indians find so attractive in the first place wouldn't exist if the West practiced something similar to Izzat. Our systems can only exist on the assumption of good faith, and not a majority of people exploiting them for destructive short-term gain. On top of that, if an Indian causes the systems and companies he comes into contact with to collapse, he can just go back to India with his plunder. He has no stakes in the long-term prosperity, functionality, or stability of these systems. The stakes are completely asymmetrical in the Indian's favour. And so, if an Indian can operate an anonymous account just spewing bullshit into Western politics, well, if the account gets closed, he makes off with all his money and suffers none of the political consequences that he has engineered by fomenting ethnic and religious strife in Western countries from afar. The post then cites a video of an Indian scamming a food bank. He says, once again, winning is righteous, losing is not. By employing clever means, jugaad, he successfully extracted more resources for himself and his family. From the perspective of jugaad, a rule is not something to respect, but merely an obstacle to the Indian's own gain. Since he cheated the system and wasn't caught, he is seen as righteous and dignified man in the Izzat framework. I'm sure, though, if you just import millions of them over here, Ben Shapiro, that they won't behave like this and they'll just act like Americans and conform to rational economic incentives in a high-trust, honesty-based culture. The post finishes with, there was a green text from 4chan about an Anon who knew an Indian. The Indian would make outlandish claims that he could bench press 500 kilograms, he was a billionaire, he did arms deals with the US government. Anon said he didn't believe the Indian. The Indian reacted with righteous indignation, and the situation escalated to the point where the Indian was emailing Anon death threats. When the Anon responded by forwarding the emails to the police, the Indian took his own life. The Anon was left baffled by the situation and had no idea what happened. Without Izzat, it looks utterly insane and like a pointless sequence of events. But with Izzat, the Indian's actions make sense. He was boasting to increase his Izzat, and when Anon stated his disbelief, it was seen as a vicious attack on his Izzat. The Indian escalated the situation to restore the lost Izzat. When the police got involved, the dispute had become public. So the Indian's shame had increased to unbearable levels. He ended his life to save his remaining Izzat. Anon had no idea what Izzat was, or if he did, he didn't mention it. Yet, the Indian's actions perfectly align with this framework. This is what makes me believe the green text was genuine. And so in honor-based cultures, people will end their own lives to avoid bringing shame on the family. Think of harakiri in Japan. Whereas in individualistic, Anglo-Protestant cultures, like America, when do men most commonly take their own lives? When they lose their wife and they lose their job. It's when they lose their sense of purpose. It's when they are dislocated from this web of relationships which gives their life meaning. The Western idea of merit is competence in a role. Merit in Izzat is determined by what lengths you will go to achieve a goal, with competence merely being one path. It becomes a secondary path, as printing a degree that says you're qualified to be a jet pilot is just as good as being actually able to fly a jet in the eyes of Izzat. In other words, Izzat selects for appearance, or your willingness to lie, cheat, and steal to get ahead, over authentic merit or morality. And this explains why doctors imported from places like India have a minimum level of 2.5 times medical malpractice than British-born and trained doctors. The poster clarifies as well that the reason most Westerners don't know about this is because if Izzat is discussed openly with the outgroup, then the entire charade is dropped. It's like losing the game. The moment you know the game is going on, you've lost. The moment that you know Izzat exists, you know it's all one big scam in order to accrue to yourself more reputation brownie points. And the moment that people know that you're willing to lie, cheat, and steal to get ahead, well, then they know that all of your boasting and all of your accomplishments are largely bullshit to inflate your own sense of self-importance. And so your social currency is debased and you've lost Izzat. You've lost the game. And that's why Indians don't discuss this with us. It's because if we knew that it was all a scam, we'd stop importing Indians, and so they wouldn't be able to send loads of remittances back to their economy, but also because they would lose social standing with other Indians, and that's the most important thing to them. And so this is why putting the countries in ex-bios has been a total disaster for Indians' attempts to engagement farm. They've lost their social currency, they've ruined their international reputation, and they're likely going to lose lots of money by people just checking the location that the account is based from and blocking them on site. Consider, if this is the way that Indians are willing to treat their own country, then are we really shocked that this is the way that they treat our Twitter timelines?